Welcome back to Halycon Radio Podcast. I'm Elsie, and I will be your guide to the small town of Halycon. In the last episode, I was given the task to be the cook at the inn, much to my dismay. Let's jump back into it. I wiped sweat from my brow as I had just taken the cast iron skillet off the heat. The savory aroma of butternut squash mixed with thyme filling the air around me. Outside, a crisp breeze rustled through the half-open window, carrying with it the scent of cinnamon and the faint tang of pumpkin from the market down the street. The guests were starting to arrive in the dining room, and my heart began to pound again, my face still damp from the effort of cooking. Janice had set the table. Linens lay neatly across the surface, vases of purple-tinted violets and white carnations with stems trimmed short so no one's view was blocked, and sparkling silverware rested on the hand-sewn napkins. Even the soft autumn light filtering through the windows touched the edges of the table, highlighting the gold flecks in the crystal wine glasses. I had been at work for hours, trying to get the broth just right. Basil had given careful instructions while I made the butternut squash reduction, sprinkling in the thyme and carefully baking the accompanying bread to perfection, something I hadn't even imagined making. Since around 2030, people hadn't bothered with hand-making anything, at least not in the city. By then, AI had taken over the restaurant scene and revolutionized the market. Basil guided me through the process, slowly mixing the yeast with warm water, adding the flour and salt gradually, kneading by hand. By the end, I couldn't help but want to taste myself. "Go ahead," Basil said, his smooth metallic voice calm yet insistent. "You've earned it." "Earned what?" I asked. "A taste," he replied. "Go ahead. Take a bite. You'll never know if it's good otherwise." My mouth watered. I hadn't realized how hungry I was after all that work, and my mind raced. What if it wasn't good? Would I get kicked out of the inn? Basil interjected gently. "Miss Elsie, I see your mind wandering. Go ahead. No one is watching." The murmur of impatient guests came faintly from the other room. Basil excused himself to bring out water and wine selections, leaving me alone with a bowl of the delicate autumn soup. The dishware was ornate, hand-painted with leaves along the rim, and I carefully spooned some of the creamy soup and ripped off a piece of the pillowy, soft bread. The aroma hit first. Buttery with fragrant herbs and the earthy undertones of freshly made bread. I twirled a spoon around the bowl and brought it to my lips. The first bite, rich, smooth, and perfect, lit my senses alive. This wasn't city food. It was an experience. Every spoonful made my taste buds leap, and I couldn't stop. I emptied the bowl, then grabbed more, devouring a small loaf before Basil returned. "Ah, yes," he said, surveying me with a hint of amusement in his robotic tone. "It appears you have added quite a bit of personality to dinner." With a mouthful, I could only chew silently, cheeks burning with embarrassment, but I had no regrets. He was just a robot anyway. "We need to plate up now and serve our guests," Basil said, efficiently arranging bowls and extra wine glasses. Side by side we worked, ladling soup, carefully cutting the bread, and preparing a smaller portion for a child dining tonight. "Do I look okay to serve?" I asked, wiping my forehead. "Is there soup on my face? Am I too sweaty?" Basil looked at me, unbothered. "Nothing on your face. You look like a chef should look, Miss Elsie." Whether it was a compliment or not, I ran with it. I grabbed a couple of plates, and stepped backwards through the swinging door into the dining room. 6 guests were seated at the table. A blonde girl with pigtails wore a green dress, her little shoes muddied from play. She was half the height of her mother, yet they looked like twins from different generations. "This is your cook for the evening, Elsie," Basil announced. "She did a wonderful job, and I can tell because I caught her devouring the food just moments ago." Laughter followed, and the little girl kicked her dangling feet. My cheeks flushed a deep rosy red. "Yes, well, I had to try it," I mumbled as I lowered my head. Bowls were being placed before the guests, 2 couples and the mother with her child. The girl looked up at me shyly. "This looks great," she said softly. Her mother laid a hand-stitched napkin on her lap and guided her spoon into the soup. I noticed the little girl watching her mother intently as she brought the spoon to her lips and tore the bread. The child grabbed her own and took a piece of bread of herself, but couldn't take her eyes off her mom. The mother caught her gaze and smiled sweetly. "It's good, right?" she whispered. The little girl smiled too and nodded. The mom gently took the girl's spoon to help guide it to her mouth, and the small child looked at her in wonder at how she was so good at something that seemed so difficult to her. The girl opened her mouth as her mother fed her with a tenderness that spoke volumes, as though the mundane task of feeding her daughter, probably multiple meals a day, hadn't become a chore. She looked at the girl as though the simple act of being with her, showing her how to eat, was the most precious thing in the world. The mother patted the child's head with a gentleness only a mother could give, then took a bite herself. I couldn't help but tear up watching them, which was becoming awkward as I hurried back into the kitchen. The guests complimented the meal warmly, finishing their plates and wine. I returned to clear dishes and noticed the mother and daughter leaving together, hands clasped, pigtails bouncing. A small exclamation of joy escaped the girl as her mother smiled down, asking if they should go out for ice cream next. Basil said, "I've got this. Go eat and rest, Miss Elsie. You've added a lot of personality today." Nodding, I grabbed some leftovers and sat down in the dining room. Janice's soft footsteps approached, the autumn light catching the specks of dust dancing in the air. She settled beside me. "We got many compliments on the food tonight," she said gently. "I had never cooked like that before," I admitted, "but I think I liked it. You don't get food like this in the city." "Ah, yes," Janice said, a sparkle in her eye. "I could tell you had a spark in you." I smiled. "The people here aren't like the ones in the city either. I can't remember the last time I saw a child treated as though she wasn't a burden." From the large window looking out towards the small town, the wind blew fallen leaves among the cobblestone, curling golden and amber around the edges of the inn. A quiet reminder that autumn had settled deep into Halcyon. "There's a lot to learn here in Halcyon, Elsie," Janice said, her voice soft yet firm. "Not everything is as it seems." These words hung in the air as Janice made her way toward the front desk again, assuming her regular half-asleep position. I rarely took time to eat, and this occasion was no different. The bread and soup paired perfectly, and surprisingly, it didn't bother my stomach, even though cream had been added. Once finished, I picked up my bowl and headed towards the kitchen. Basil appeared to be powered down, but all the dishes, countertops, and floors were clean to a pristine shine. I hadn't taken long to eat. Basil must have been in a turbo mode to clean so quickly. As I placed my bowl in the sink to load into the dishwasher, I looked out the back window that faced the forest. It was so close you could see individual trees swaying in the evening breeze. I turned to take my apron off, then Basil's sensor suddenly flickered. The spoon and bowl I had left in the sink to put into the dishwasher was now perfectly clean and arranged, though I was certain I had left them to clean myself. The herbs on the windowsill seemed greener, more vibrant than they had that morning. But basil was powered down. Something in this place was more than it appeared. Then I noticed the fireflies dancing through the trees and convinced myself to take an evening walk. Thank you for listening to the Halycon Radio podcast. Please join me for Chapter 5 coming soon.